everybody, my name is Vasim Khatra and I'm the guy behind the Baugasm project. For you that don't know me, you can go and check it out on Instagram under Baugasm. And today, this is my first tutorial, and if you want to see more of my tutorials, I'm going to leave on the description link to my Skillshare where I have in-depth tutorials on how to make the posters. But here, I started playing around with Xparticles a week ago, and I came up with really cool effect where you have these kind of wires, kind of forming a face of a figure. And we're gonna use Cinema 4D, Xparticles, Octane, and Photoshop. And if you don't have those, probably you won't be able to do that. But I think you can get the trial version of Xparticles, and you can get a subscription of Octane and start working on it. And hope you're going to learn something from it. You can maybe not use a model, you can use whatever you want, maybe just 3D text. I'm going to explain that later on, but I hope you're going to enjoy this, and I promise I'm going to make more tutorials like this on YouTube. So let's get started and start working on Cinema 4D. See you in a moment. Hey, welcome everybody. So as I mentioned before, we're going to create like this head where the wires are coming out of it. We're going to use Xparticles and we're going to use Octane as well. I know that I just got Xparticles and just realized that, Octane and Xparticles, they have their own limitations, but I think we're going to make it work. And I just started playing around with this, like as I said, Xparticle like a week ago. And I found out this really cool effect, and I thought this would be a really good idea for me to show all of you here on YouTube, because I've been promising for a very long time to make a tutorial and also share some stuff on YouTube. So this was a really good, I thought is a really good concept to just get started with a YouTube channel. So what I have here is a model, and it is all grouped over here. But you can just import any kind of model. You can import 3D letters, anything we want. We're just going to use the Xparticles to build up something inside of the head. And I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible of a tutorial. So I'm just going to go quickly on some of the things. So I have the model. I don't know how you actually select all of these. Is there a... Okay, I'm just going to select that because all of these... Okay, over here, I know this model has eyelashes. I'm just going to remove them. And now I'm just going to select everything up until here and do connect objects and delete. So now we have one object over here. So what I want to do is basically cut off only from the neck and up. And there is a cool effect in Cinema 4D, same as in Photoshop or Illustrator, the Pathfinder, where you have two objects and kind of using them to crop up different elements. And this is a cool one. But before that, we're going to create a cube. And okay, let's make our model a little bit, bigger. And I'm just gonna crank it up a little bit and go back. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna make a cube. Oh, I think the model got too big. I'm just gonna stick over here and just make a cube, and I'm gonna make the cube a little bit thinner. So oops, just expand it a little bit. So now we're gonna use this cube in a way to cut off the head part. So the way to do that, you go over here and go to get a Boolean, and then let's name this body. I'm gonna rename it later, but we're gonna get the body and just add it to the Boolean, and then the cube underneath that. And as you can see over here, that kind of material, object cut off on that part. Select all three and go to objects and connect objects and delete. Now everything is one object, but what we want is only the head from the neck and up. So the way to do that, just select your model, go to polygon selection, and then you go to the live selection. I have a wider one, like 200, and make sure to unselect, only select visible elements, because if you check this, only the polygons on these sides are going to be selected, but we don't want that. We want select everything. So make sure everything is highlighted and make sure that you don't select the part of the neck and the head. And after you select that, just click delete. And now we can see that everything is deleted. So another thing we want is that, you know, the axis of the head is over there. So go and select that and just move it over here. Deselect it and go to move the object. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to generate an Xparticle system. You can go to Xparticles and Xparticle system, or you can just Shift C and XP system. And as you can see over here, if I play the whole system, you know, over here it's the whole system of Xparticles. So if I play, you're going to see that these particles are just emitting. So what I want to do basically is I'm going to make the, let's rename this head. I'm going to make the head a little bit bigger and move it down. What happened to that? Axis didn't change. Anyway, so I'm going to move it here. There is one more thing I forgot, is the bottom part of the head. So we want to go to the polygon selection and just, you know, this doesn't need to be perfect, but just select a few of these because we want it to be open. We want the wires to come out of the neck. So now we have the emitter. I'm just going to select the emitter over here, and we want to change the emitter under the object. And from a rectangle, you can see is a rectangle now. We want to make a sphere, and we want to make the sphere smaller, and we want to make sure that the sphere is, you know, inside over here for now. Maybe we're going to change it later. So now, also by making it a sphere, by the way, when you play, it's like an explosion, like you know, it's coming from all angles. It's not just one side of the rectangle we had before. So what is happening now, the particles are coming out of the head as well, but we don't want that. We want, you know, also we want these particles to create like a trail around that. So let's hide for now the head and work a little bit on the hair-like trail around the emitters and particles. So the way to do that, under the XP system, go to generators, and you have XP trail, and you have to tell which emitter to use, so just drag and drop it there. And now if I hit play, you're gonna see that, you know, it leaves a trail behind. If I load up Octane now, probably won't be able to see that, and I'll tell you why. But before I do that, I want to add to the modifiers and motion modifiers, I want to add some turbulence, and I'm gonna crank up a little bit the strength of it just to see what it can do. So now you can see that all these particles are kind of having a turbulence and like going around, but the trail follows the emitters and the particles and creates like this branch loop. There is also, under modifiers, there also another effect called branch, and I think is under generate modifiers, and it's called XP branch. For this you have to go to branching and add a branch, and you can play with these values, but for now I'm just going to leave them as they are. And what branching basically creates is, like, you know, from one trail it just creates another trail. It's like a real branch on a tree. So if I play that, it's a bit more intense. Probably it's gonna get a little bit slower on your computer. And by the way, timeline I extended to 300 frames, just, you know, to have some space. You can do that if you're still at 90s, the default. But we have these, right? So now if I load Octane, we will see only the head over there. But if I press play, you won't see anything. The reason for that is because Octane and Xparticles, it doesn't know as an object. So you have to go to the XP trail we created before, right click and go to Cinema 4D, Octane tags and Octane object tag. And we're going to tell that we want to render this trail as hair. So go to the hair and render as hair, just check that. And now if I remove the head from there and I play this, you'll be able to see them on Octane as well over here. You can play a little bit around here with a root thickness, tip thickness. You can make them bigger. You can also, if you go to the emitter, we can to the emission, you can have a rate. I'm going to leave it at a rate for now, but you can have a shot, you can have, you know, all these options and play around. Maybe you don't want that many particles, you want, you know, something smaller, like you can have 5 and it's just going to create 5 of those. But if I make 5, for example, and I go to, where was it, like the Octane tag, and I want to make the thickness to 10 and the other one 10, you're going to see that these kind of small tubes, like a branch, are, because we have the branching in there, you know, it's not just going to create 5, but it's going to split it and divide it and create more and more as we go. I'm just going to go to 1 over here again, just leave it as it was, and also go to emission, and I'm going to leave it to 1000 as it was before. Now we want to make sure that, you know, everything when the emitters are going, we have it inside the head, so we want to make sure that it takes the path of the head. And the way to do that is, let's show up for a moment the head over here and just right click on it and go to Xparticle tags and just add the XP collider. And you can play around with these settings, but I'm just going to leave them as they are because I think they work for me. And now if I hit play, you won't be able to see the trails coming out of the head, but they're just going to come out of the neck. And if this is a look you're looking for, maybe you go with it. But I want to actually just remove completely the head. And the way to do that, just right click on the head model, Cinema 4D, and we add an Octane object tag, and in there we go to visibility. I'm just gonna take it to 0. So as you can see already by playing it, you know, you can see all these that are already filling the face. One thing I forgot to mention, on my model the eyes are like basically circles there, so it gets that as material as well, so it's not collapsing with it. So by adding on the model, you know, the Xparticle collider tag knows also that mesh as a collider, so it's not filling up the eyes. So on the right side here on Octane, you can see that, you know, it's filling up the whole thing and then wrapping around the eyes, and all these are kind of spreading and going outside of the neck. Maybe I'm going to reduce a little bit the emitter, just maybe by half. The reason is because I have the branch, and I know the branch is going to add a little bit more, and I don't want them to kind of merge together at some point. So let's see how that looks like. And actually I'm just going to get like a still image out of this, but maybe you can do an animation. You can use a XP particles cache, and you know, that's the look you're going for. Actually this is taking quite a while to fill the whole thing, so oh, I went to 50, I want 500, that's why. Alright, I think this is gonna work. Let's see. I think this works for me. I kind of like it. Maybe I'm gonna change a little bit the strength of the turbulence, not that much. And let's play and leave it to 1 frame where we like it. Just a little bit more, I think I'm gonna leave it over here. So now what we want to do is basically we create like a Octane material for the XP trail where, you know, all those hair are falling. I have made here a texture, basically is a gradient. You can use a diffuse material or even glossy, whatever works for you. But I just, if you go to the diffuse, I have this, you know, this sort of gradient. You can play around with this. But I'm just going to drag this and add it to the XP trail and see how that looks like. Pretty cool, huh? So, another thing I want to do is I want to add some lights. So I'm going to add a spotlight and see what this is going to do to the whole thing. And just, you know, increase a little bit the light. And I'm gonna control on keyboard and just drag another one over here. And on this one, I'm just gonna decrease a little bit the power. And let's make a camera actually. Let's make a camera. I'm gonna make a 85mm camera. And let's find a cool angle to export this. Maybe I'm gonna leave it here. Oh, let's make the camera visible, damn it. Okay, let's move a little bit these lights out of the way for now. Okay, they're affecting the scene. So I think I'm gonna go with what I have over here and move to Photoshop and, you know, just clean it up a little bit. And I'm gonna export this as a PNG. You can go to Octane settings and export this as a PNG from Cinema 4D, and you can just alpha channel, keep environment, remove it, and now you'll be able to go to your render settings. And, you know, I'm just gonna make this like a lock ratio. I'm gonna make it like 5000 just to have a big file, and I'm just gonna save it as a PNG. Okay, I'm gonna save these and I'm gonna see you in Photoshop just to add a background. I thought to add a background on Cinema 4D, but I thought in Photoshop would be cooler. So yeah, let's do that. This, I actually exported like a different perspective of it because the first try I did was this one. Was not really happy with the look of it, but you can play around with it. Maybe you can add some depth of field to the camera and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna keep it relatively short here. So I have the model there. I'm just gonna make the color of the background and have all these sort of wires kind of stand out. Maybe we create a new layer, get the brush, and, you know, just increase the size of the brush. And I have a lighter purple. I'm just gonna add it over here and just, you know, add kind of a glow on the back. And also you can, if you want, you can create a layer here, create clipping mask, and on this one you can actually just paint, and maybe you do like a screen, you know, you can play around with this stuff. Maybe you want to change the color of that or anything like that. But I kind of like how this is simply looking. You know, probably there is a lot of things that I would work on this. I kind of don't like how the light is hitting over here the head, so I'm gonna get a burn tool, just, you know, make it big, and maybe just get this area a little bit darker. Like you can play a little bit with the eyes, mouth part, and yeah, I think this is looking good. I guess you could add like a shape on the background as well. Let's try that. You know, just to differentiate the part of the head from the background. Let's get maybe a darker one like this. Kind of works. Let's make it a little bit more saturated, the whole thing. You can even, you know, just change the colors over here. this is what I chose for now. I'm just gonna leave this to 0 actually. But yeah, I mean, you can play around with this as much as you want. As I said, it could have been a 3D letter. You could have added the same trail inside that and it still would have looked great. And I'm really looking forward to see what you guys gonna do with this style. If you have Xparticles and Octane, I think this is a cool thing to play around. Again, on Xtrail and Xparticles, you can play more with the settings. I think over here they're looking some, you know, they're not really rounded. And over here I don't like it, it's like too much. Maybe I have to decrease the emitter, but I kind of like it. Let's maybe try just this. I want to add something around the eyes over here before I end up with this. Just make this, you know, or light, and just want to make that part a little bit kind of like it like this. So I'm gonna leave it to this. Probably you can even just leave the eyes of the model for real there and it's still gonna look cool. You can even animate this and, you know, it's gonna have like pretty cool, all those branch and the turbulence and the trail together. You can make a camera following up the whole body while all of this is following up. It's pretty cool, and it's a cool technique to play around with, and I hope you enjoyed this. I promise I'm going to do more tutorials, and see you on the next one. Bye.